Good morning, grade 10s. I've posted a picture of what I'm going to explain to you on the WhatsApp group. I've completed all the previous amounts, like you can see, because the cost price to the selling price part, that's old news to us. We are supposed to be able to do that. The new part is more focused on the VAT area. But I'm quickly going to do a few of the calculations, and then you can afterwards request and ask if there's anything that you still don't know. First of all, a reminder that our final cost price is always the cost price where I started with the original price I paid for the product, plus if I incurred any other expenses like transport or carriage, I add that to that cost price. I even sometimes have to pay custom duties that I also add to the original cost price. Then the final cost price of my product is not the R335.50, but the R535.50. This is what the product eventually cost me. The markup that I'm using in this business is 150%. So that means like my selling price percentage will then be 250% to be able to calculate that amount. If you do that calculation, remember you always have to start with the amount available to you. So you have the cost price amount available to you, R535.30, divided by 100, because that is the value of that rand amount, times 250, because selling price means 100 plus markup, 100 here plus markup equals my 250. So I times with 250 over there to be able to get the amount of the selling price. And if you do that, that amount will be 1338.75 rand. 1338.75 rand. So I've now started with my final cost price after I brought into account any other expenses that I might occur on that cost price. Then this will be my cost price. If you started with that amount, everything is wrong. Then my markup percentage was 150. To work from my cost price to calculate my selling price, I follow my normal procedure, and there's the calculation, and it gave me the amount of 1,338 rand. 1,338 rand and 75 cents. Now, what I need you to know, the selling price of your product after you've added the markup is also called the exclusive VAT amount. So you can actually write in there the exclusive VAT amount immediately if you have the selling price, because it will be exactly the same amount. Now, that exclusive VAT, however, when we calculated the cost price, selling price, the percentage value of selling price was 250. That was determined by my markup. But the selling price, when I changed that to another title, called the exclusive VAT amount. This changes again to the value of 100 because this becomes my starting point if I want to work out my VAT amount. So on that amount, I will now calculate 15% to be able to get my VAT amount, and I will calculate or use the percentage value of 115% to do this amount. So for me to calculate that amount, I'm going to start with my exclusive amount, 1338,75 divided by 100 times 115. That is your calculation to get your final VAT amount, and that will now be 1539,153,955 cents, 56 cents. 56 cents. Please do that so that you can see where those amounts come from. If I want to calculate my VAT amount, I can also start with my inclusive amount of 1,338 Rand and 75 cents divided by the value that it takes on if I work with VAT, which is 100, times by the 15. That's the one that I want to calculate. And if I do that calculations, my VAT amount will be 200 Rand and 81 cents. My VAT amount will now be 200 Rand and 81 cents. Another way that you can now check this, if I add those two together, those two, they should give me the final amount that I have there. Now, I spend a lot of time on explaining the first example. Let's now just quickly fill in the missing information in the other examples that we have on the board. If we look at the second one, I'm not going to talk about the cost price amount any longer. You know that. In this case, my markup is 75. So if I want to work out my selling price, I will now have to use the percentage identity of 175. So the calculation that I'm going to do to get that amount, I start with the known amount, which is the 5,200. The identity of that amount is 100. I divide that by 100. I times that with 175 because 175 is my selling price percentage identity. 100 plus markup, so times 175, and that will be the calculation to work out your selling price for number 2, and that will give you the amount of 9,100 Rand. Now, 9,100 Rand, I already told you the VAT amount on that is 1365. You can see now, you can go and test it and see if it's correct by then starting with your selling price. But what do we know about the selling price? It's got another name. The other name is exclusive VAT. So I can immediately, if I've got the selling price, I can immediately write in the amount for exclusive VAT because it will be the same as my selling price. If I then take my exclusive VAT and I do the calculation where I take the 9,100, I divide that